Welcome to episode 3 of the Mile 20 podcast, where epic shit happens. I'm Laura, and I am with my bestie, Lorri, and we're going to give you an overview of what we're talking about today. So first, we're going to talk about feet and lice and fireball.
I wonder how that connects.
Yeah, that epic times, Lorri. We'll talk about our beverage of the week, give a little update of what Lorri and I have been up to, and then we're going to talk about the Marine Corps Marathon and what our experience was. It was our first race that we ran together, and we're going to give a really, really good recap of that race. It was a solid race.
It was a solid race.
Yep. And then we'll give a little teaser about what we're going to talk about next week in episode 4. So, Lorri, I'll cut over to you.
So our beverage of the week. Well, first, let me give a disclosure. I'm so sorry. I am a hair bit under the weather, so my voice may sound a little raspier than normal, and I may have a slight squeak when I laugh. I apologize in advance.
And I'm so glad that I'm sitting so incredibly close to you right now.
Yes. For those of you who join us on YouTube, what do we call this? Like a she shed hot box?
We're calling it the hot box, I think.
The hot box? Yeah, we're in a really tiny box together.
Yeah.
And very close. And I feel really bad for Laura because she may have a very raspy voice come next week.
Yeah. We're actually in a closet in the bottom of our basement that at one point in time was a craft closet. And then it was going to be a really, really cool, like, walk-in, like, wine thing. Nope, now it's a podcast closet.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Anyway, so starting with our episode this week. So our beverage of the week is going to be, God help us. Fireball. I love Fireball in a lot of ways. Tastes great when it's really cold outside.
Yeah.
But as we'll explain in a little bit when we get to our Epic Week update, we had quite the weekend. So
Girls' weekend.
So it's going to be a little tough to stomach through this Fireball tonight, but we're going to do it.
We're going to do it
because
for the sake of the podcast.
Yes, we will. So this is significant to Marine Corps because at the time when Laura and I were just starting to run together and we realized that we had separately signed up for Marine Corps, and we had decided that we were training together because why not run it, right? We were going to room together and all of that. We would have our running group had this addiction to Fireball. Every time we got together, we drank Fireball. I don't know why. If you went out and you saw like a friend on a run and their car was in the parking lot where we meet, sometimes you would just leave a random Fireball on their vehicle handle.
And what's most disturbing about that is that people would go and carry all these extra bottles of Fireball in their cars so they could put it on other people's cars.
Yeah, there was a lot of Fireball going on.
Going on.
So in this particular Marine Corps, I kind of thought it would be funny, a little bit epic. So every marathon, there are several perks that you get when you sign up for a marathon. They give you your free shirt, you earn your medal at the end when you finish. But there's also accommodations for runners. So when you start the race, they give you clear bags. So if you wanted to have a change of clothes at the finish or like flip-flops, special snacks. When you get to the finish line, you can check a bag and it'll be waiting for you at the finish line. They're always clear for safety reasons. And you put your bib number is on the bag so that they know how to identify you. And I thought it would be really epic and very funny if all I did was check what's the smaller size? Is that it's not a fifth.
It's
what is this?
Not. It was bigger than a nip.
Is bigger than a nip, but smaller than a...
We call the little tiny bottles nips for those. We're in Philly, and we call them nips. I don't know why.
Yeah, but it wasn't a handle either.
No,
but it was a mid-size. It was a mid-size bottle of Fireball. I'm like, I think it'll be funny if that's all I check. Nothing but Fireball, which you can see clearly through the check bag. And so I checked it. Nobody questioned it. dropped
Well, it was
off.
really, really early in the morning when you checked it in.
Yeah,
like
and
really
they were
early.
busy and they were just grabbing bags. And then, we're a little bit more back of the pack. So when we finished and we found like a little place to sit, I'm like, I'm going to go get the bag. I'm going to go get the Fireball. So I walk up to the baggage check and they see my number and they're like, we have been waiting for you. We were wondering for the last several hours, who the hell just checked in a bottle of Fireball? And it was a gentleman. And he's like, will you marry me? And I'm like, oh, that's so sweet. But I don't think my husband would appreciate that very much. And I just kind of flung the bag over my shoulder and strutted off like I was the shit.
You did.
Anyway.
You did. And the significance there was that after the race, we sat down with your friend Elaine, because she also ran the race. She didn't stay with us, but we caught up with her. And we sat on this grassy area in the shade, and we went in and did shots of the Fireball. But the one thing that we started that race was in memory of my brother Ned, and we're going to go into it a little bit more as far as why this Marine Corps was important. But that was the first time we took a shot for Ned. So my brother's name was Ned. And so we did the shot where it was I call it the phantom shot.
Yeah.
The phantom shot for Ned.
Yeah.
And then we both take shots of Fireball.
It's like the angel's envy a little bit.
It is.
Right?
It is.
Yeah.
So
it's Ned's shot.
So with that,
I think we need to take a quick little sip of this. And
we're not downing
sorry.
it, right?
No.
Because we can sip this throughout the episode.
Yeah, we're gonna sip throughout.
God help me. Oh my God, my poor liver.
I just don't even want to do this right now. But it's gonna be fine. Right?
Oh, fuck.
No, it's not fine. It's not fine, but it's going to be. Okay, here we go.
Okay. So let's get into a little bit about our, that hurt going down, man, it burns. Our weekend.
Wait, can I give a quick Ella update before we move on?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ella is very happy.
That's her daughter.
Not because
one daughter.
Yeah, we talked about her in episode 1.
Yes.
Right? And I didn't update anybody in episode 2.
So people have been asking, so we need to give an update.
Yeah. So she did not get into the University of Florida, but she is completely at peace that she's going to be at Penn State Nittany Lion.
Yay!
And selfishly, and her sister too is thrilled because
she's a grad.
Her sister's a grad. And I love the fact that she's going to just be 2.5 hours from me. So I prefer that way better than the University
because it's all
of Florida.
about Lorri.
No, of course not. But it's a perk.
I'm excited.
That she's gonna be close.
I'm excited because I have never been to a whiteout at Penn State, and I have heard that they are absolutely epic adventures, and I really, really want to go to one. So,
yes.
So now this is yet I'll get a shot at it.
Another one.
Yes,
you did have a shot.
I did.
We just never did it when Maggie was there.
No, just did not get to it. So our weekend was quite fun. As we mentioned in the last episode, we were planning a trip up to the Adirondacks, where you and your hubby have a absolutely adorable cabin on this beautiful lake. And we went up with 2 of our girlfriends, Julie and Mary Beth, and we had an absolute blast. There was a ton of snow up in the Adirondacks, and it snowed the night we got there, so much so that you couldn't even see across the lake. It just complete whiteout. And it was cold. It was very, very cold. I think Saturday night into Sunday morning, I woke up around 5 a.m. and I took a screenshot of the weather app where it said it was minus 19 degrees with a real feel of minus 31. Y'all, that is freaking crazy.
That's crazy.
And it was so cold that we had put some bottles of Prosecco, or I had put bottles of Prosecco out in the snow because wow, this is great. I'm just going to chill them really quick.
Right.
Forgot about them. So the next day after that really, really cold night, I went to go pull the bottles out, and the tops had just completely snapped off of the bottles. So I'm appreciating the cold a lot.
Yeah, it was insane.
What else did we do?
Very good. I felt like it was amazing. The 4 of us were together Friday morning at 6 a.m. up until today at 5 o'clock?
2 hours ago.
Yeah, not long ago. And I was amazed that all we did, it was fellowship.
Yeah.
The whole time. We talked and talked and talked. There was barely any quiet point except for when we were snowshoeing.
No TV. Nobody even read books. We just
No.
we were just engaged the entire weekend.
Yeah. It was soul fulfilling.
It was. And we did go snowshoeing. So y'all
Yes.
had some snowshoes. I had never gone snowshoeing before, and it was so much fun being out in the cold, but getting exercise and just getting back into the woods, which
Yeah.
we both love. Getting Julie and Mary Beth into the woods, which is not a common place of where they reside.
No.
But they loved it. And they just, I think their energy levels were super high. I loved seeing all the animal tracks. Through the forest. We saw a beaver dam or beavers like hard at work, like kind of maintaining
we
their
saw
space.
a few trees that were freshly cut down and dragged. Like we saw the drag in the snow. It was incredible.
Yeah. And then we went sleigh riding.
Sledding.
Sledding.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it now?
Sledding.
And that was a blast.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad we went and did that, because I haven't probably gone sledding in forever in snow.
Yeah.
So that was just so much fun. And then we went to there was a little general store on the lake, and that place
Otto's Abode.
Otto's Abode.
Shout out Nolan at Otto's Abode.
Shout out to Nolan, because it's just this really cute, funky little general store. He was playing Creole music when we came in. We were able to go and just grab a beverage and a little snack. He has seating inside, and I don't know, just good vibes going on. Good vibes going on.
It was. That's one of our favorite hangouts. Like every time we go, especially in the winter, because he's really the only guy nearby that's open other than a Dollar General. And as much as Dollar General is great, I like the small guy, you know, and Nolan really creates a little culture in his little village, and I love that.
He really does. And they actually, which we did not partake in, but they had a croquet set, so you could play croquet
in the snow.
So we thought that was pretty cool. We were gonna try to play that, but we I think we just all kind of like burnt ourselves out from the snowshoe hike.
Yes.
Yeah. It was
rigorous. We did on Saturday. We did snowshoeing like maybe a mile in and out to a waterfall. So we kind of had like a warm-up thing, and then we went out, but there was already people that had walked out there. So the trail was kind of cut through the snow already.
Little groomed.
Yeah, but when we got into the Lost Pond Trail, it was fresh cut. I'm 5'1". The snow is probably 2 feet.
Yeah, 2.5 feet.
2 to 2.5 feet deep. So like I was having to... It's high stepping for 2 miles cutting through, and it was a lot of work. I was toast.
Yeah.
I was fried when we were done.
Yeah, no, and it just was a great weekend, and it's just so nice when you just take a little bit of time, and everybody's schedules can go and all meet up at the same time, where you get that quality time with your friends.
Yeah.
And it's so important to just make sure that if you haven't connected, for those of you who are listening, if you haven't connected with a friend in a while, just even, taking a couple hours and put down your phone, sit down, just talk.
Just talk.
And just learn about each other.
But even if you can't do that, just send a text.
Yeah.
Do send a text. Just pick up your phone and be like, hey, I'm thinking about you.
Yeah. Yeah. It does make a big difference. So, all right. So that was our epic week. And again, I think our livers are they're gonna recover. I swear they will.
What's really scary is when I drank that, it wasn't as sharp as I thought it should be.
Mine was. All right, so we're going to jump into Marine Corps Marathon.
So why did you run Marine Corps? Because you had run it before, too.
Yes, so. I'd run it twice before running it with you. And Marine Corps was just one of those races that it was hitting on the 10th year of my brother Ned's passing. And so, I was like, wow, like that would be kind of cool, running 10 marathons in 10 years in memory of my brother. For those of you listening, you're seeing a theme with me. I'm always like that little goal setter. You know, how can I go and I do something, you know, else that's a goal that hits another goal that hits another goal.
She loves her list of things
to do.
I
She
love
loves
a good list.
I love a good list. So that's why I had chosen to do this Marine Corps marathon, and it was the 40th anniversary of the Marine Corps marathon, the first one that they had put on. So thought that it was special, and I remember sharing that with you, and you were just all in. You know, it's like I'm going to do that. I'm going to run the marathon with you.
Yeah.
You know, and which was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, I think I had already signed up.
Yeah.
Prior.
Yeah, but when you heard my story,
oh yeah, we got there that day, and in the past, like I had met people with my running group beforehand, but then everybody runs your own race, you know?
Right.
And so that's kind of what I was used to when I started with you that day. And there was just like this feeling in my chest, like knowing your story, knowing it was the 10th, that I just had that feeling like, no, like this, and I'm between us, I am staying with you today. Today, we are a team to get you through this. And I was saying, like, in subsequent races, as we got really deep into it, we would always have matching outfits. Like, people
matching
knew
everything. They knew we were together.
Yeah, like we were running together. So they would kind of avoid us as a unit, but we weren't doing that yet. And like people kept cutting in front of us and between us, and I'd be like, "Yo, asshole, go round!" And I was getting real like pissy, like, "Don't mess with our mojo." And I think that was it. Like at that point, I
solidified it.
I became glued to you
yes.
at that point.
Yes, and it has been that way ever since.
Ever since.
So and I greatly appreciated that, because it was a very emotional day for a multitude of different reasons. I at some point in time, because it did rain that day, and it rained probably the first 3 hours, maybe first 2 hours of the race, because I think we started at 7 something in the morning. It started at 6. And probably ended around 9:30. And I, unfortunately, got really, really wet socks. And for those of you who are not runners, wet socks, and you don't even have to be a runner. You just know that even when you're walking around your house and you step on the wet floor and you get a wet sock, you're like, crap, my sock is wet. Well, running with wet socks is just the worst thing you could possibly do. It creates bad friction. It's not friction that you like.
No.
And I got some bad blisters on one of my feet, and I was in agony at some point in time in the race. And I just remember at some point I said to you, "Hey dude, like you just go on. Like I will meet up with you at the end." And you were like, "Absolutely not."
No.
And that's so I knew, like, you know, in the beginning, because it was emotional, the race, that like, oh, this is awesome that she's running with me, because I had never really had anybody running with me before.
Neither
right? And vice
had
versa.
I. Yeah.
And then when you stuck with me through the blister, and like I just knew like we are forging a friendship here, like just like beyond, like on epic levels, and I greatly appreciated that.
Yeah, it was a really cool day.
Yeah, it was a cool
Sad,
day.
emotional,
yeah, absolutely,
but a really cool day.
But it started stuff. So you know, earlier we talked about that one of our topics was, you know, feet. So it's super, super important that when you do foresee that there might be some rain in the forecast, to go and perhaps pack an extra pair of socks. Or, you know, just make sure that you're caring to not like really jump in puddles and like step in puddles, not jump in puddles. Like it's inevitable.
It's inevitable and unavoidable.
But it's always good to perhaps go and bring in an extra pair of socks. So that's the public. And then,
although I have a totally different technique, which is a little weird.
Yeah. So before we jump into like the specifics of the race, just talk about what your weirdness is, because this is a weirdness. I love you, but this is a weirdness with her feet.
Yeah, it's really weird. So I started running.
I might have to drink more Fireballs. You're talking about your feet.
Yeah, go for it. So as I said in episode 1, I kind of dabbled in triathlons, sprint triathlons. And the whole thing about triathlons is speed at the transition. So I had learned that going from the bike or the swim to the bike to the run, that you know, getting socks on wet feet could cause more time and stuff you don't need. If you just put Body Glide, which is this wonderful, for those of you who don't know, it's this wonderful product that even if you're not a runner, if you have chafing ever, like as a woman, I have thicker thighs, wearing dresses, Body Glide is your godsend. That's just a little nugget I'm giving you now. If you never want to run anywhere ever, Body Glide.
It looks like a deodorant
stick. Yeah, it's like a deodorant stick. And you can find them at Target and all sorts of places. But anyway, I had been taught to put Body Glide all over my feet. And so I did that. That's just what I did. I marinated my shoes. I marinated my feet in Body Glide. In 62 marathons, I have never lost a nail, a toenail, which is a thing. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I've never lost a toenail in a marathon. I have hiking, but that was different. That was different. That was descending from the mountains, but never in a marathon. So I highly recommend. You should be carrying a little thing. They have little things of Body Glide regardless.
The baby containers.
The baby containers, because sometimes you start getting a chafe around. I mean, I bathed myself in Body Glide before a marathon.
Yes.
I mean, all around my bra area, because I, at Marine Corps, had the worst because it was so wet. It also will chafe your bras when your bras
anything
wet.
that rubs on your body it'll just make you bleed.
It'll make you bleed. So like Body Glide.
So I use Body Glide, but I also will use Vaseline, and I've also used what is that the baby cream? It's basically like you use it for your
Desitin.
It's like a Desitin, but it's I'll have to get the name of it, but it's basically for like a baby's bottom,
like baby rash, right?
And yes, and I have used that in the past as well, just because it sticks and it's I know. It's like drinking that extra thing of Fireball. The first one was easier. The second one was not so easy.
One was worse.
So, all right. So we ran Marine Corps. It was October 25th, 2015. I think I mentioned earlier that it was the 40th anniversary of the Marine Corps Marathon being held. And they had 23,194 runners that year that we ran, which was the third largest field that they had gathered in their history, which was pretty cool.
That's very cool. I feel like marathoning in the 2015s to 2020s, like before COVID, was just on this crazy blooming course with like just it was growing exponentially, the sport. So we end up getting a lottery, right? Because you have to sign up. You basically sign up to register for the race, and then you find out whether or not you get into the race or not, because it's very competitive to get into it. It is, because when we approached running the 50 states, well, before I met you, too, because she knows I was a freak. I had a whole spreadsheet. If we're going to do this, I want to run the marathon in every state. Whatever the big one is, or the small one, whatever had that draw, I wanted to run that race. And for Virginia, Marine Corps is it.
Yes, yeah.
There are others. There's plenty of others. Anybody can choose. I'm sure there's a bunch of opinions. Feel free to leave them in the comments.
Absolutely.
But really, the big one is Marine Corps.
Yeah, and we drove down there because we live in the Philadelphia area, so it was pretty easy to travel down. We got down there, I believe, the day before, and went to the expo. So an expo is basically where you pick up your running bib. So it's the little number that you wear on the front of your clothes. Went to go to a bunch of different booths and so forth. Their expos, their expos is pretty solid. And then we stayed at the Crystal Gateway Marriott in Arlington. Now, the one thing that you will find if you're looking to go and run a race is a lot of times these big races will have recommended hotels, partner hotels, or hotels that they would recommend that are close to the start. This was not close to the start, but it was close to the shuttle that is in Crystal City, Virginia. And that we picked up at, I think, around 4 something in the morning and took a shuttle over to the start, which was over by the Pentagon. They kind of corralled us in like one of the parking lots outside of the Pentagon. And then we all kind of like went onto a road, right outside of the Pentagon. So that was the option that we went with this particular race. Again, this was our first race doing this together.
Yeah.
We got much more savvy, that you will see in future episodes. We've got much more savvy in terms of our logistics of how we went and stayed at different locations for various races.
Yeah, as we went on, we definitely favored more staying closer to the finish.
Yes,
I'd say even more so than the start.
Yes, most definitely.
But if it was close for both, then that was even a bonus.
Absolutely. And the temperature that day, it ended up being around 70 degrees when we finished, but it was nice. It was like 57 when we started.
It may have been nice, but I don't know what was going on with some of the participants of that particular race, because with the rain, gentlemen, I'm speaking to my gentlemen right now. If you are a gentleman runner, I don't care. Put the deodorant on.
Put it on.
Put a lot of it on.
Wear it.
You need it. Okay? You may think you don't need it because everybody's going to be out there smelling. I don't know. I feel like there were people who forgot their deodorant that day. There were dudes that were running past us, which made it feel like it was like 100 degrees out there.
Yeah.
People run by us, and I'm like, good God, man.
You could like eat their air. Like the air that they left,
so
like we could eat it.
We called it the man funk race.
It was,
what is up with the man funk here?
It was the man funk race.
It was so bad.
We wanted all these like guys to just get away from us so we can't smell you anymore, Yeah. That was pretty bad. So all right, so Laura, talk about what the race course was like, and they haven't changed the course.
No,
I mean it's a pretty solid. It's a
consistent course.
Consistent.
Yeah. Well, the start too is pretty cool.
Start is epic,
and I know
it's the best start.
one
of the best starts.
Yeah, it's one of the best starts. Yeah. I mean, I know it varies maybe slightly from year to year, and I've done it twice, and I know you've done it three.
Yeah, three times. Yeah.
I know that sometimes they have paratroopers that parachute in on the American flag during the national anthem. They have ospreys, which you could tell a lot more about how badass ospreys are than me with your military background, that do a flyover. It's just amazing.
And they fly really low.
Yeah.
Like it just makes your body vibrate, and you're like, I'm ready to run this race.
I mean, it's important to know that like when you're running the Marine Corps marathon, it's 100% Marine Corps ran. Everybody, from picking up your bib to your water stops to your finish line, it is all Marines.
Yeah.
So that makes it very unique in that way. I feel like it adds to the experience.
I totally agree. And the guys and gals who are out there as volunteer, well, I don't know if they're voluntold, or I don't know how that works with the Marines, supporting the race. But they are so incredibly supportive. I just remember running through water stops and them cheering us on, calling our names out and so forth. And I don't know. That did just make it that much more special.
Yeah, it did. And I think so. You start, like you said, at the Pentagon, and then they tell you to really kind of take it easy the first 3 to 4 miles. There's some nice little undulations, some undulating hills through Crystal City. And then I think we crossed the river, into Georgetown? I think into Georgetown, which is really cool because Georgetown's is a vibe of its own.
It is. And before you cross over that bridge, I just remember that there were a lot of those in the Washington, D.C. area. They have all of those like really low kind of stone walls. And there was the water on one side of us, and it was just heavily wooded. And it was a good vibe before we got into Georgetown. I remember going downhill to then go across the river.
Plus, it's like towards the end of October. So like the leaves are changing. It just has that beautiful fall vibe.
Crisp. Yeah.
Yep. And then from there, I feel like there's like this really annoying out and back that seemed very long for a while. Mm-hmm. And then where from there?
Well, just going back to Georgetown, the one thing that I really, really liked when we came into Georgetown was that they had the Georgetown University Band playing, and the Hoosiers have their striped, was it the is it black and gray are their colors?
Your memory is always way better than mine. So sometimes I'm just here going,
I absolutely love that because it just, I don't know, the vibe of the race changed because you knew you were on the other side of the river and now you were going to be around all the monuments and everything. Like you're getting into the heart of it.
Yeah.
And I just feel like their music playing was almost just like a welcoming into the space. So.
Like, welcome to the other side of the river.
Yeah. Yes,
now you're in DC.
Yes. Now you're in DC. Yeah. Yep.
And I know we ran like around the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial, and then you right around the halfway point gets real tough.
Yeah.
Normally your physical things all happen around the wall, which we talk about, anywhere from mile 17 plus. But for this race, it's an emotional wall that you hit at 13. Marine Corps is known for their Blue Mile. And it's tough. They have way too frequently. I don't know how far they're spaced, but it feels like maybe 10 feet.
Yeah, about 10 feet, every 10 feet.
Every 10 feet,
that's
they
accurate.
have a tribute to a soldier, that has died in action, and there's their picture,
their name and rank,
age
and age and basically what kind of unit they were in.
Yeah, and sometimes and oftentimes, the families are standing around that particular soldier's picture. So it's not just the soldiers, but you also see the families.
Yes.
And you cry. There's a lot of tears through that.
Every
touching.
every single time I've run that race, I have cried going down that area.
Yeah.
And you could almost hear a pin drop.
Yeah, it's so quiet.
Because none of the, you could see how Lorri and I banter with each other, back and forth, and we're constantly talking through a race, especially at mile 13, because we still have wind in our sail, right?
Yeah.
But you get to that Blue Mile, and you just, like, everyone just stops talking, and it's just very, very emotional.
I think it's the other than the monuments. I mean, that's what people go to run cities is about.
Yeah.
But that's the moment in the race. That's the space that makes Marine Corps special.
Yeah,
that's why you go.
Yep.
I mean, aside from the fact that the Marines put all this on, that right there is the reason.
Yeah. And then you as you're going out into the, because it's around the East Potomac Park is where they have the Blue Mile. But do you remember when we came to the tip of that turn and we turned, and it was really weird because I do remember there was a dude who was running without shoes on.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes,
we were like, what the hell?
Like, who does that?
Who does that? You want to talk about man funk, right?
Yeah.
But do you remember then all of a sudden seeing the Washington Monument?
Oh, yeah.
And, just kind of peeking up out of the trees. And that's when, we kind of like, all right, we got to like kind of brush off the emotional stuff. But then we got really excited because now we're getting into like all the monuments and everything. And I just remember that just poking up like a little bit out of the trees. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, DC, the Marine Corps Marathon takes all that is wonderful about DC and actually puts it in the course.
Yes.
And there are a lot of cities around the country that have marathons, but don't always showcase 100% of the things that you want to see. But you run the National Mall.
You do.
You're running by
the Capitol.
The Capitol. You're running by all of that. So it really shows off DC.
It does. It does.
They do a nice job with that.
Yeah. So then talk about then, because like after we pass by the Capitol building and by all like the museums and so forth, let's talk about the bridge.
Oh, the bridge. For us, it was just Beat the Bridge.
Yeah, it was Beat the Bridge.
It was all about Beat the Bridge. And my favorite sign was as we were approaching the bridge.
I knew which way you're going.
Yeah, there was just one lady holding a sign that said, "Fuck yeah." and Laura and I are like, "Fuck yeah!" Like we beat the bridge. So the beating the bridge, and I'm going to sneak peek at my notes here. So they want you at the mile 20 is where Beat the Bridge is.
Mile 20.
Mile 20. There it is.
Yep, there it is.
At 1:15 p.m. And if you are not at the bridge at 1:15 p.m., you're done.
You get swept.
You get swept.
Yep.
So it's kind of like with the Disney.
And they're serious about that because they're Marines.
Yeah, they're very serious. You don't say no to that. But now it looks like we're going to be. So we were supposed to. We had our years mixed up. Mm-hmm. We thought that this last year was going to be our 10th anniversary, and then we're like
of running this race together.
Of running this race together, and we're like, let's sign up for it again. We all signed up together, and then Laura hurts herself.
Yep, I broke my ankle.
She defers. Maggie hurts herself. She defers. Maddie's just starting
She's a lawyer.
law. Yeah,
she deferred.
Yeah, she's just starting her brand new law job. She defers. Ella defers. I defer. And then we start doing the math and we're like, wait a minute. This was all like a weird, strange, godlike thing because really we were all supposed to be running it this year in 2025.
Yes.
2025 is the actual 10-year
yes.
anniversary.
Yes.
And my husband, Dave, also signed up with us. Ironically, we all deferred except for Dave, who wound up going through the full training and then running it because he was like, screw all of you. I've trained. I don't ever want to run another marathon again.
I'm not training anymore.
I'm done. I'm running it. So he actually did run it this year like a rock star. I got to be a spectator, but Maggie and I were following him around. And I have to say, I had a damn good time as a spectator. I adored cheering on my husband.
Yeah.
It was a good
time. And he
time.
killed it. He did an awesome job in that race.
He did a great job.
Yeah. So we're super proud. We're super proud of Dave, but chances are he probably will not run with us this fall. But who knows? Who knows?
I don't think he's running with us this fall.
Who knows?
No way.
But the just going back to the course, the one thing that I just really did not like about Marine Corps every single time I ran it was the out and back in Arlington, where you cross over the bridge and then from mile 21 to like 23, 24, it's a straight out and back.
Oh yes,
in Arlington, and it's terrible because for an out and back, as you're running out.
Doesn't it go through It goes through Crystal City.
Yeah, it goes into Crystal City, right?
Yeah.
But you're seeing all of the runners coming back, so they're going to the finish, and you're still going out. Now, as a slower runner and being the back of the pack, it's always good that when you're doing the return and you're still seeing people going, running, the other direction. You're like, oh, thank God, I'm not last.
I'm not last.
I'm not last.
Yeah.
And then when you finish the Marine Corps Marathon, you finish at the Marine Corps War Memorial.
Yes.
Which has this really steep but steep hill that you go up.
It's enough at 26 miles of a deterrent.
Yeah. But it was cool because then all the Marines are at the finish line and they're handing you, putting your medals around your neck and so forth. And, and I think that the support, like where the food and everything that like the runner support at the end was really fabulous. I remember just getting some really like just good food in my belly after running as well. Because some races are not really good at that, but Marine Corps was
especially
was top
for
notch.
You with a gluten allergy.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
I also running up that hill and you're looking at the statue.
Yeah.
Of Iwo Jima.
Iwo Jima. Yep.
And it's impactful. Like what you go through on a marathon is so non-consequential compared to the sacrifices that they made. So it's a perspective thing when you finish that race.
It is. And when you finish it, you're like, all right, when am I running my next one? So what was something that was memorable? Let's, maybe we get into the lice thing now.
You think a little bit?
Yeah.
It was a little memorable. So
it was memorable for me.
It was for you. So again, Laura and I were, we're friends. We're friends, but I think we were like maybe a year old friends.
Yeah.
Like we were tight.
Yeah.
We were spending a lot of time together. I wouldn't have called you my best friend just yet.
No,
but we were building.
Yep, we're building forging that friendship. We're forging the friendship. Yeah.
And so I get home from that trip because we had Elaine staying with us, right? She was in the other bed, so Laura and I bunked up. And I get home, and Ella, my youngest, and Maggie both are sent home. Well, Ella was sent home from school with lice. And then I check Maggie's head. she has lice. And then I have my head checked, and I have lice. And I'm sitting here thinking, holy shit, I was just in a hotel room sharing a bed with Laura. And I'm thinking to myself, what do I do? Like, here's your choices, right? Maybe I can play it off, not say anything. And nothing happens, and she's fine, and nobody's the wiser, right? That's an option. That's the easy option, is to not say anything. Or do I call her and be like, oh, motherfucker, I'm so sorry, which is what I opted. I'm like, I really love Laura. I like this friendship we're starting, and I don't want to screw it up. And I'm just a very much like, tell it like it is. Here I am, take me or leave me type of person. So I called Laura, and I'm like, Laura, I'm really embarrassed, and I'm so sorry to tell you this, but Ella, I have lice.
I was like, oh. And all I kept thinking was not just that we shared a bed together, because I'm like, all right, I had my own pillow. But Lorri early on would wear these like pajama onesies.
Well, we still wear pajamas.
Well, we do, but like that was like, I mean, you wore it was a little pig.
Yeah.
It was a little piggy, kind of just like a onesie, right?
Yeah.
With a hood on it. And so at some point in time when I was in our hotel room, you had that draped over the back of the chair, and I was taking a work call. And I remember taking the hood and putting it over my head, because wouldn't it be funny me being on this like serious work call with like, a little piggy thing on my head. And that's all I kept thinking about. And when you called me, I was driving our daughter Maddie up to college. I can't remember what the circumstances were, but I believe like we were doing like a long weekend with her or something.
Yeah.
And I was on the highway driving up to University of Rochester, and I was like, holy crap, what do I do? So needless to say, I did not, fortunately, get lice.
But you did go to a delouser just in case, didn't you?
I didn't go to a delouser, but I bought that like medicated shampoo, and I swear I freaking burnt my hair up and my scalp and everything else. But exactly what you just said, where you could have made multiple choices in terms of how you handle that, I respected the hell out of the fact that you called me and you told me. And it was like, even though I didn't get it, it just, so our friendship was truly forged over lice and
over
Fireball.
Lice. That was so bad. And Dave was traveling so much at that time. And I think it was our second bout with it. I think we'd already had it once. And we lived in Florida. Like, I'd never had lice.
Yeah.
My kids had never had lice before, and I'm like, what the hell is this? Which is very common in the Northeast is lice. I don't know why it's more common here. They like the cold, whatever. But so the second time I was like, I can't do this for another 2 weeks. Like, I was self-treating them, and it was just torturous. So I finally hired a delouser to come to the house. They're wonderful.
Yeah, well, I had one on speed dial. Like, I was ready to pull the trigger on that.
Yeah.
Should I, and then you get these phantom itches where now all of a sudden right now as we're talking about this, I'm just like, oh wow, like everything's starting to itch. So, all right. So the other tradition that we started when we were at the Marine Corps Marathon was our pre-gaming meal the night before.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that at least together that we had done pizza the night before.
Yeah.
And so, you were having your beer, I had my glass of wine, and we had pizza, and we're like, whoa, this is a really, really great meal. Now, for those of you who are runners, who are listening, everybody has their different stuff that they eat like the night before. Some people have some more sensitive stomachs. I know even now you won't even do like salad or anything green the night before.
No whole day before, no fiber at all.
Yeah,
None.
and it's just how your body responds to processing the food that it eats. But pretty much, I mean, throughout, like, and you guys are, as you're listening to all these episodes, we'll start sharing, some of the pizza places that we actually remember that we went to that were like just
there
like
was some
epic
good
pizza.
Yeah.
You just sitting and eating it, going, oh my God, this is the best pizza I've ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
Which is fortunate, but that's where it started.
Yep.
You know. So what else did we do when we were in DC?
I think we walked around the next day. We were doing a little bit of. I wanted to see the White House. I think we all kind of wanted to see the White House because I think the White House is the one thing you really can't see from the race course.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no, we definitely did not. No, we did not see it. Yeah.
So we went up to the White House. It was really cool. One notable thing about that was when we were kind of near, what was it called? The Presidential something Gardens?
Yes.
There was a really cool albino squirrel. I'd never seen an albino squirrel before.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing.
I think that thing was so, it was hanging out on a tree.
Yeah.
And that thing was whiter than white.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the hell is that?
I can't imagine
like,
that
it's
thing.
A squirrel.
I can't imagine that thing has survived. maybe. If you've seen it, put it in the comments.
Who knows? But I think the cool thing about what we did, and again, I think you said it best, is that the Marine Corps Marathon really showcases, Washington, D.C., but we also made sure that we baked in a little bit of extra time to go and see some extra things that, we didn't see on the course.
Yeah.
To really feel like we've immersed ourselves, in that experience. And I think that also kind of set the stage for then all of our future marathons that we did together, because it just got to that point where it's like, well, what else can we see while we're here? It's so important that when we do go and visit these different locations that we just immerse ourselves as much as we possibly can. We do a lot of research on the areas.
We always say we squeeze 50 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag.
Absolutely.
A lot of the time.
And we'll come back from a lot of these weekends like we did, for that first race we did together, just exhausted.
And today.
Yeah, and today. But it's just neat to go and try to experience as much as we possibly can in each of these different areas. So talk a little bit, like we have, for those of you who are seeing us on video, you can see them, or we have our medals behind us. So for every race that you run, well, not every race, but for almost every race that we have run,
yes.
not one, not one,
never won,
but they give you a medal, and it's just got a ribbon, put it around your neck, and usually every race has, whether it's their mascot or their,
it's just significant.
It's significant to their race,
yeah.
Right?
So the Marine Corps medals are, as much as I'm going to be opinionated about them, I would say are a very solid medal. They're very pretty. They're pretty consistent on the way they are. They've got good substance. They're a decent size. They use the Marine Corps
emblem.
You sound
like you're talking about a guy. That's what she said.
You've been reading too much fairy smut.
I've been reading too much fairy smut.
Or dragon smut.
I guess right now smut.
You've been reading dragon smut. But do you know anything as a West Pointer? Do they teach you any of the significance of what's on the Marine Corps stuff?
No.
Oh. I think it's the Marine Corps emblem because it's on every single one that they do, right? Isn't that on this one too?
Yeah, it's got an eagle on the top, and it's got a sword through it with rope, which I'm thinking is probably
like an anchor.
It is an anchor. Holy shit! I thought it was a sword. All right, well, there you go. That's why I was in the Army.
This is part of the reason why I run, so I could hang this up, and color in my little state on my little chart, my little map of the U.S.
When did you start getting?
Didn't you get that for me as a gift?
Yeah. Like maybe we're a couple states in with each other.
Yeah.
So it's a map of the United States, and
it's like a chalkboard.
It's chalkboard, yeah.
Yeah, and you color in each of the states.
Yeah. So I did have a routine that when we came back from a race, I would take my medal and put it on my medal rack. Mm-hmm. I have a little 26.2 bumper sticker, like round. It's a round sticker on my bumper. Mm-hmm. And I would add a tick mark on my bumper sticker to go and show how many. It's like, oh no, I didn't just run 26.2. It's like, no, I'm on number 10.
Tick, 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 tick.
And then I would come downstairs to the basement where I have my chalkboard hanging with the United States on it, and I would chalk in my state. So Washington, D.C., we got to go and chalk off Virginia.
Yep.
Yep.
I would come home and check off my thing, but my medals, my most recent 2 medals always hang from my rear view mirror in my car.
Yeah.
In my Jeep.
Yes. Yeah, Lorri loves her Jeep.
I love my Jeep. So you want to tease our next episode?
Yeah. So after we ran the Marine Corps Marathon together in October of 2015, in November of 2015, we took on Philly together.
1 month later.
1 month later. So next episode, we're going to talk about Philly.
All things Philly.
All things Philly next episode.
That's going to be multiple, though, because we've ran multiple Phillies
Multiple
together.
Phillies. And I think that they get more epic with each one, especially the last one we ran.
Well, we want to thank you guys for hanging with us today. So go make mile 20 your bitch.
Peace out.